Bad parrot.
Welcome. We are so excited that you are all able to join us here today for the 2020 Awards for Excellence in Environmental Education celebration, our first ever virtual celebration. It looks a little bit different this year than it has in previous years, but wherever you are, wherever you're coming from, whether you're at the office, at home, we're so excited that you're here to celebrate with us. We have some incredible programs and incredible people that we get to highlight today. You might be in the middle of a crazy busy workday. You might be at home juggling lots of things. Whatever context you're coming from, I would just invite you to take a deep breath, enter this space of celebration, and we invite you to take the next hour to just be inspired by the great work that is happening around the state in environmental education. If you are new to Zoom, there are just a couple things you'll need to know to make the most out of your time today. The first is where the mute and unmute button is. So you can see here on the screen where it is on a desktop or if you're on your phone. And I would invite you right now, if you haven't muted, go ahead and mute your line so that we can avoid any background noise. You'll also want to know where the chat button is, so you can see it here. If you have any technical difficulties, Lisa and Kat from CAEE are standing by. They'll be watching the chat and they can help support any tech issues that you have. We also invite you to use the chat to shout folks out. Tell them congratulations. Tell them that you're inspired by their work. While we're not in the same room to clap, we can definitely use the chat to talk with each other, say hello to your friends and colleagues. And we'll be actually leaving the room open for 30 minutes after the event ends. So if there is somebody that you want to say hello to, you can also send them a private chat and say, hey, can you stick around for 5 minutes after the event? I'd love to say hello and check in. And we'll be putting together some breakout rooms so that you can do that at the end of the event. And then finally, you'll want to know where the stop and start video button is. And whatever works best for you, you might want to have your screen on so that other folks in the room can see you and wave and say hello, or you might want to turn your video off. Whatever is most comfortable for you, we would invite you to do over the next hour. If I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet, my name is Katie Navin. I'm the Executive Director of the Colorado Alliance for Environmental Education. And we are a professional association of environmental and outdoor educators across the state who are all working to teach people concepts that we all need to understand: how natural systems work, how to interact responsibly with the environment, and how to protect it for future generations. We are the largest network of environmental educators in the state, and together we're reaching over 800,000 learners, which is absolutely incredible. Together, we're impacting conservation, education, social justice, positive youth development, and health and wellness. And we're so excited to celebrate some of that great work here today. As we begin, I do want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge that wherever we are located watching this celebration is the ancestral home of Native peoples who were the original caretakers and stewards of the land. In Denver, I am celebrating on the traditional homelands of the Cheyenne and Arapaho peoples. And we invite you to share and acknowledge the people who call the land wherever you are their ancestral home in the chat. We also want to acknowledge that historically, environmental education has been tailored to white communities, and the contributions of Black, Indigenous, and people of color have often been excluded from our narratives. Black, Indigenous, and people of color have vibrant, rich histories and cultures that contribute to our field. And we all have a responsibility to continue working to change the systems that continue to allow injustice and inequity to exist. And we want to be sure and center that in the work that we do at CAEE. I feel like it's a bit of an understatement to say that the world has changed over this year. From global pandemics to raging wildfires to intense uncertainty about everything that's happening, we have navigated a billion changes this year, and the environmental education field has responded with innovation, creativity, and amazing ingenuity. And what is clear is that environmental education has never been more important.
This year has been full
of difficult challenges.
We've been tested in ways that
shake us to the core. Ways that make us question who we are
as individuals,
as communities,
and as nations.
We've lost loved ones.
We felt sad and angry.
And heard the all too many
stories of systemic injustice.
But when we take a moment to reflect,
to stand still,
we can see the possibilities.
Our imaginations reveal a more just and sustainable future,
where civil rights apply equally to every person,
where education leads to critical thinking,
where healthy people
and communities lay the foundation
for a healthy environment.
Our ever stronger community
of environmental educators
can lead the way.
We can call upon one another to do better,
to speak up for the rights of our neighbors,
to leave behind old ways of thinking that keep us apart,
and to use our ingenuity
to discover new ways of
delivering the education we need
for the world we want.
More than ever before,
our work is needed.
This is our moment to stand together.
This is our moment.
To
stand together.
And inspire change.
We want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you and celebrate the incredible work that you have been doing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite you to just look out at all the faces of environmental educators across the state who are doing incredible work. Lisa's going to go ahead and put a link in the chat that I would love for us all to click and just think a little bit for a few minutes. A question will pop up that asks, how have you seen environmental and outdoor learning inspire change this year? How have you seen environmental education making a difference in communities? So take a moment, jot down some thoughts, and we'd love to hear about the impact that environmental education is making in your communities. We're seeing more people outdoors, more people learning about the environment, absolutely. An increased sense of place, record visitation in parks, youth standing up for their climate change concerns, creative and innovative educational opportunities for students by using different outdoor locations, by using virtual programming. EE is bringing people back into systems thinking. Kids have made friendships faster and stronger. New people are exploring the outdoors. First ever family hikes. There are so many incredible things that the environmental education community is doing for Colorado. And we are so inspired by that work. So huge round of applause to all of you for the work that you are doing. We also want to thank a couple other folks, including Marathon, who sponsored this event. We also want to thank our tremendous awards committee who spent hours reviewing nominations and planning this event. We could not do this without them. We especially want to thank Bevan Carithers and Mary McCormick for their work chairing the committee. We also want to thank our CAEE board of directors who have provided incredible leadership this year as we've navigated so many changes, and our incredible staff. I want to give a virtual round of applause to Lisa Edens and Kat Riley. And I also really want to thank and recognize all the educators who took the time this year to pursue certification in environmental education, to increase their skills and demonstrate the incredible high quality environmental educators that we have in Colorado. We have 16 educators who have completed their certification so far this year, and more are in the process right now as we speak. We now have 159 certified environmental educators in the state of Colorado. It is incredible to see the high quality of education that's happening in our state. Finally, before we begin our program today, we want to recognize an incredible loss for our community. George Eck, CAEE's first recipient of the Enos Mills Lifetime Achievement Award in 1995, passed away last December. While George is no longer with us, his legacy in shaping environmental education in Colorado will live on for decades to come through the programs he created and the people he mentored. George was not only one of the founders of CAEE, but he was also instrumental in the creation of programs like Project Learning Tree and Project Food, Land, and People. We are so grateful for George's wisdom and the foundation that he built for us today. So we take a moment to remember George. And now I would love to introduce our 2018 Enos Mills Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Kelly Keena, to celebrate this year's award recipients.
All right, thanks, Katie. Hi, everybody. It's so wonderful to see your faces in these little boxes. I love it. Really grateful to have this time with you today, especially in this week. I think this is a really nice hour of taking the time to just be together and out of the chaos. So before we get started, I've been asked to encourage you again to use the chat to clap, congratulate, reaction emojis, all of those wonderful things that we can do for our award winners today. So the chat is all yours. And I've been invited to just think about our theme for today. So I'll do that for a couple of minutes before we get into honoring these amazing individuals and organizations. So the theme today is inspiring change. And, you know, these are two really loaded words. And so what I'd like to do is unpack this a little bit and reconstruct it for our purposes and our intentions today. I read an article the other day that defined inspiration as the psychological sense of community. I really found a lot of comfort in this definition, especially now. We don't need to catalog all of the things happening this year that are keeping us physically separated. But the definition of psychological sense of community hopefully gives you comfort, because even with that isolation from one another, we're still in community with one another. We're still connected, Zoom rooms or not, by a sense of community and by that need we all have for connection and belonging. Along with this, we know that a core tenet of resilient and healthy communities is interdependence. I would argue that this community that is here, and those of our CAEE network that are not able to be here today, this is a concept that we live and breathe, both ecologically, but also socially. So even before the events of this year, all of them, we as a community functioned in this way. And as Katie said, we're aware and intentional about being more inclusive of this community and doing that work. And that comes along with that psychological sense of community, that inspiration. We know, and we've always known, that our organizations are only as healthy as where we live and who we are intricately connected to. We find inspiration in our community, which is why today, this next hour, is so important for all of us. It's that collective breath. It's time for us to be inspired by these dang impressive folks in Colorado who are innovator educators in our field. Okay, so there's the inspiration part. Now let's talk about change. Change is this beautiful word that's a verb and a noun. So as an action, change is to make something different or replace it with something else. And it's one of the things that came up in the comments, watching youth do these actions, this and in present day has been incredibly, incredibly inspiring. The noun change is that act. Change is the instance of making or becoming different. So change as a noun is happening because of change as a verb. Here, by all of you, in this year, we have so many profound examples of change. So the theme today, inspiring change, reminds me of an interview with Francis LePay and Fritjof Capra. And Francis said, there are 3 C's opposite of the S's. Instead of separateness, there's connectedness. Instead of stasis, reality is continuous change. And instead of scarcity, there is co-creation. If the nature of life is that we're all connected and that change is continuous, then we are all co-creators. We are all co-creators. We are co-conspirators in creating a healthier and, as Robin Wall Kimmerer says, mutually flourishing world. The work of our interdependent community grows more urgent by the day. And we rise to that urgency and that challenge despite the scarcity. We all add up. Each node of our network is as critical as the next. We shine out, we build up, and we empower. So through inspiring change, this big idea, we are actually co-creating hope. And to quote Francis LePay, hope is what we become in action together in community. So we are here to honor and pay tribute to the actions of individuals and organizations, to be inspired by our community. This awards program is our time to stop and reflect on the importance of environmental education. This time to pause in our community and reflect on excellence. We're here to recognize and honor that excellence, the people and programs who go above and beyond their work in environmental education. In a moment, you'll see a short video highlighting this year's award recipients. And everybody pretend that Tim Sandsmark is there taking pictures of these folks as they come up to get their award. These programs are that we're recognizing today showcase the wide variety of ways that we learn about and in our environments. We honor the different approaches to make learning about the environment relevant and meaningful to learners, and to reach people in ways that will build lasting understandings and change the verb and the noun. We're going to play a short video highlighting these outstanding peoples and programs. Congratulations to each of these awardees.
To receive an Innovative Environmental Education Award this year for the Youth Water Leadership Program, which is a project of Wild Rose Education based out of Carbondale, Colorado. The program has been reaching teenagers and allowing them to give voice to their biggest concerns around water, rivers, and climate change issues, and giving them the tools they need to talk to policymakers and actually make a difference.
EcoCycle's school programs educators are honored to accept the award for advancing environmental literacy for our original school waste reduction programs.
Schools have reduced the amount of trash generated at lunch in the week-long waste-free lunch contest. Trash at individual schools is reduced 60 to 95%.
The Children's Used Book Project has sorted and redistributed over 200,000 gently used books to schools and charities over the last 10 years.
The Locker Leftovers program has reduced waste generated at the end of year locker cleanout time for 17 years.
Rocky Mountain National Park's Snow Science program exemplifies how learner-centered, place-based applied learning can benefit students in powerful ways. By traveling to the park, snowshoeing to a study site, and collecting data, students can visualize themselves as scientists and understand how seemingly irrelevant snowpack in the mountains impacts their daily lives.
Hi, I'm Erin Kendall. I'm the School Programs Coordinator at Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and I coordinate the Schools and Outdoor Learning Environments, or SOUL program. The mission of SOUL is to connect kids and their families to the outdoors. We work with 53 schools statewide in all corners of the state, and we build strong relationships to connect kids to the outdoors.
Early Childhood Health Outdoors, or ECHO, strives to ensure every young child experiences nature daily for the health of our kids, communities, and the planet.
ECHO works directly with 74 licensed childcare programs in public sites across the state.
We have trained over 3,000 early childhood professionals on how to engage children in nature play.
ECHO has impacted over 10,000 young children across the state and is now a model for expansion across the country.
Rob's ability to grow people and make them better versions of themselves is something I've rarely witnessed in a person and something I don't know when I'll come across again. When I think of what makes Rob an excellent educator, what stands out to me is his eagerness to create an environment where everyone is welcome and their thoughts are valued. He has given me confidence in my professional voice. Permitting me to believe in the power of my own thoughts has created an effect that has bled into every facet of my work and will continue with me for the rest of my career. For fostering the growth of my professional voice, for giving me a map of infinity, I owe Rob a great gratitude.
Throughout her 15 years with Rocky Mountain National Park and 10 years with Rocky Mountain Conservancy, Rachel Balduzzi has exemplified excellence in environmental education. She developed nationally recognized education programs, worked to eliminate cost barriers for children's and family programming, and mentored dozens of interns and fellows.
Of this year's Youth Leadership Award. I'm the founder of the Project Outside, an organization that seeks to connect kids with nature in an urban setting. One of our biggest projects, especially now with COVID, has been to connect people outside in safe ways. And so we've done a lot of work with social media and our website, giving people the opportunity to take on challenges in their local urban area. I am so grateful to be their award recipient this year and look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you again.
Amazing, as always. Y'all are so amazing. We have, this inspiration for looking at these programs as models, knowing that they all help us learn and grow. We know that there's been a tremendous amount of that inspiration from the EE community this year. So we would love to invite you to share in the chat 2020 accomplishment, in spite of all of the challenges this year. What's something that you've accomplished? Or you could also recognize something that somebody else accomplished. Right, so professional development classes to virtual learning, amazing. Spaceship Earth, 2 versions on YouTube, whoop whoop. Check that out. Perfecting video skills, right? Reaching people in new ways, amazing. Audio, pivoting to audio and virtual programs. Yeah, that pivot has been huge. Amazing work, you all. Wild classroom education videos. Kept programs going in safe ways. Amazing. Oh, I'm getting behind. Coming in hard and fast. I love it. Connecting remote communities during the pandemic. Creating a nature exploration journal. Offline resources for kids. So that's so critical too, right? Filling in all of these needs. Fostering authentic relationships. Amazing. There's that community piece, big and strong. Curriculum geared towards parents and families at home. Awesome. Early childhood nature play. Oh, awesome. To other states, that's amazing. Finding ways to make students laugh and learn. I mean, the social emotional component of what y'all do is it's super critical. I hope you know that. Learning video skills, new ways of reaching youth and families. Yes, everybody's brushing up on their virtual skills, which is so interesting for our field. Being creative about connecting, committed to working together, interacting with students virtually, flexible, effective ways to deal with COVID and the other challenges, and innovative program design. Yes, yes, and yes, y'all, so good. Finding ways to keep families sane and to have children go outside. Amazing. And I hope you all are taking that time for yourselves as well, that self-care piece. The board and staff are so committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion work. Yes, seeing that radiate out. Amazing. All right, well, thanks for, oh wait, one more. Creating discovery kits for junior rangers to use and explore at the park this summer. So good. Seeing the visitation at the parks has been amazing. Okay. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for sharing. Again, it is, not again to overuse this word, but it is that inspiration of how you all are looking at the times and pivoting and shifting, sometimes in minutes or hours, to fill the needs of our communities for safety, well-being, growth, learning, social, emotional well-being. It is something to, I think, marvel at. So speaking of marveling, it is time. Each year we have the honor of celebrating the newest recipient of the Enos Mills Lifetime Achievement Award. This award is presented for significant achievement and contributions to the field of environmental education. To present this award and welcome our newest recipients, Tom and Jody Cardamone, is Wendy McPhail Brigham, a former Enos Mills recipient from 2005. Wendy?
Good morning and welcome. It's a beautiful day here at the Aspen Environmental Education Center. Each year, Colorado folks are nominated by their peers for long-term outstanding work in environmental education fields. This award is named in honor of Enos Mills, the founder of Rocky Mountain National Park, a very fine writer, and a lifelong advocate for nature. Jody and Tom Cardamone are the 28th 8 recipients of this award. Their names will be added to a perpetual plaque, the one right behind us. They will receive a personalized wall plaque, and they also receive a first edition of one of Enos Mills' books. And this year it is Bird Memories of the Rockies. It comes from the personal library of a former Enos Mills Award recipient, Jeff Brigo. There is a thread that is woven through the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies with Jody and Tom, and the founder of ACES, Elizabeth Pepke, Enos Mills, and his daughter, Enda Mills Kiley. At this time, I'd like to invite our friend and colleague, Jim Kravitz, to share a short story with you regarding that interconnectedness.
Thanks, Wendy. I'm lucky enough to have been mentored by Tom and Jody for just about 20 years here. And when you first come to ACES, Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, you get some of the origin stories. And one of the origin stories is when Elizabeth Pepke, the founder of ACES, was a young girl. She would travel with her family to near Rocky Mountain National Park, and she met Enos Mills, and she sat on the knee of Enos Mills and heard stories about avalanches and giant trees and the mountains. And it must have rubbed off on her, because later on, when she had lots of things going on, she founded the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies. And she soon after interviewed Tom and Jody, and they became the first directors. So it's just a rich history and a great connection for this award. I'm gonna have Wendy come on back.
Also, not so many years ago, well, maybe a few more than, Enda Mills Kiley was here teaching a summer workshop. And she took a break around lunchtime, and she headed out and sat down on a bench next to Hallam Lake. And you could tell by the smile on her face that she was relishing her surroundings. I even think she took a little nap. Later on that same day, she shared a slideshow about her father, Enos, with the community. And in the audience were Elizabeth Pepke's daughters and granddaughters. And so the circle came full round. At this time, we'd like to add to those threads of the environmental education tapestry by acknowledging and thanking Jody and Tom Cardamone for their expertise, for their caring efforts, for their guidance. Thank you. And as our friend and colleague, Roxanne Brickell Reardon said just recently, we welcome you to the Enos Mills family of kindred spirits. Welcome. Come down, please, and I'd love to share this with you. The first edition book.
Oh, Wendy, thank you so much. Oh.
And the Enos Mills plaque.
This is a treasure. Thank you. It means so much. Oh, and the plaque. Can we hold it up?
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I'm
Okay, you just take the names.
now I can. Yeah. First of all, yeah, thank you, Wendy, so much. And thank you, CAEE, for all you do. I am honored, along with Tom, to be a recipient of the Enos Mills Award. It means so much to us. I only wish you were all here so we could celebrate together, because this is really about all of us environmental educators making a difference. I must admit the word inspire has not been part of my vocabulary recently. Dispirited would be a better way to describe my state of mind. As a biologist and naturalist, I see too clearly what is happening to wild places I love as climate change intensifies. I personally feel the extremes, the losses. Solastalgia, the word coined by Australian philosopher Glenn Albrecht to describe Aboriginal longing and grief for the places they knew that have changed, has taken on a wider meaning now to describe the changes felt by those experiencing the effects of climate crisis and population pressure. The grief is very real. I feel it every day, as I'm sure many of you do as well. Ironically, although my deep relationship with the natural world creates this vulnerability, I also find myself turning, as I always have, to nature for inspiration. All it takes is a fall flock of sandhill cranes passing over their raucous primal calls, reminding me that they have survived to make this journey for thousands of years. They always awaken in me, really awaken in me, a sense of wonder and belief in resilience. I am also a grandmother. I find new inspiration as I engage with my grandkids, enthusiasm, curiosity, playfulness, and sense of wonder, much as I did with the classes at ACES. I realize more than ever how important it is to immerse children in the natural world, not just in structured class activities, but where they can explore and just play on their own. That is when the magic happens. As described by the writer and naturalist Sigurd Olsen, it's about hearing the pipes of Pan, that rare and special moment when first the child becomes aware that they are not alone, but part of the living, breathing world that surrounds them. In Olsen's words, describing his own childhood experience, what I heard were the pipes, and what I sensed, I know now, was the result of a million years of listening and being aware, the accumulated experience of the race itself, and of ages when humans were more of a part of their ancient environment than now. E.O. Wilson, the influential biologist, naturalist, and writer, joined us for lunch on the deck at Hallam Lake one afternoon. As we were talking about the wildlife sanctuary and how classes come down from the schools, he said, "I hope you don't make the kids stay on the trails." And he laughed. He went on to describe how important it was to really let children explore and discover on their own, even if they kill a few frogs. It is that direct engagement with life that is so important in their development towards caring. As Richard Louv elaborated in his acclaimed book, Last Child in the Woods, every child needs a place they can go to commune with nature. So, how can we make that possible in an increasingly urbanized and crowded environment? And now COVID. And I quote, well, wait, I'm going to read an excerpt from a piece I wrote in 1996 entitled Wild Heart, which I feel is even more appropriate now in today's world. And I quote, "Each fall, I walk one of the trails that traverses the mountain high above town, a rounded bear of a mountain gold with aspen. I always eat lunch where I can look down on the Hallam Lake Wildlife Sanctuary, surrounded by the city of Aspen, home of the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, and also my home for the past 21 years. Sometimes it helps to see my place from a soaring hawk's perspective. As the town expands and becomes more densely populated, that pocket of undeveloped land grows in significance. Each year it becomes more evident that the 25 acres of lush cottonwood bottomland with water reflecting the sky is Aspen's wild heart. It's the place where visitors, interns, students, and community members of all ages gather to learn the special language of this mountain community. Not the human language, but the specific language of this bioregion. What is this bird? Are the snakes poisonous? Can you eat this mushroom? Where does this flower bloom? Can I grow a garden here? ACES has grown into the role played by the elders in indigenous cultures of discovering, keeping, and passing down the knowledge, the stories, the understandings of place necessary for a healthy human-nature interrelationship. It has become the bridge between people and place where one can come and learn to love and care for the mountain environment as an extension of oneself. I picture the resident golden eagle shaking her wings, releasing white down to the wind as a child's eyes open in wonder. As the world populations become more transient, more urban, more technologically dazed, ACES becomes increasingly a working model for other communities. Equally important as the Center for Human Resources should be the center, should be the center where seasons, cycles, and patterns of nature are recognized and honored. A location within the community where a newcomer can go to learn that language and begin their own dialogue. A building housing an organization will not suffice. There must be land too. A wild sanctuary to provide grounding for all the words, the grand ideas. The land is the most important part, the fire around which the community can gather and learn, the wild heart. I will finish by encouraging you all to hold and work towards the vision of such a place in the heart of every city, every community, no matter how small, no matter how large, even if it means acquisition and restoration. I feel the well-being of the earth and our grandchildren is at stake. Thank you all of you so much, and thank you to this special place on this beautiful day.
Yeah. And what an honor for Jody and myself to be recognized by the Colorado Association for Environmental Education, and really an honor to be shared with so many. And just listening to Jody speak, I'm reminded of the circle that Wendy mentioned, and the connections. It's no wonder that Enos was a redhead, blue-eyed, animated fellow who spent a lot of his time waiting around in beaver ponds, which is exactly how Jody grew up, and with that deep connection with the natural world, and you could feel it, and I could feel it as we heard her speak. But I want to recognize and share this honor with so many that have been part of ACES and have created this organization and made it what it is. Of course, Jody, as the first director, really set the tone and the character of the place, and it's so well preserved and carried forward and amplified today by a wonderful staff. Just last year we had a reunion on our 50th anniversary, and 150 people were invited, and most of them showed up, and that was just a part of the ACES tribe or ACES family. And in thinking about some of my interactions with those people, it was just wonderful to see that they had gone out into the world in so many cases and carried that ACES model that Jody mentioned to other places. I also wanted to recognize the importance of CAEE's work and the environmental curricula that we're also aware of. And I know that we're also clear that it's not just the science, but it's that transformational effect that places like this, Aspen Center for Environmental Studies at Hallam Lake, have on people. And just a vignette, I remember so often in the high activity level of environmental education programs out of doors, we would also take time with the kids to have them do little solos. And those were transformational times for them, and they would come back wide-eyed, inspired. So the science base was very important, but that transformation, time for transformation, we found critically important. The chain of mentors, from Enos Mills to Elizabeth Pepke to Jody to current and past ACES staff, that's so important to recognize all of those people and share this honor with them. And in particular, I want to give a shout out to Wendy McPhail Brigham for being a part of the ACES family for so many years and bringing us all as staff to environmental ed trainings at the Nature Place at Sandy Sanborn's Western Camps site. Those kinds of things made this place what it is today. I want to also mention longtime ACES enthusiast, former board member, former board president, and a great supporter of the work that Jody and I did, and it continues to go on here, Cynthia Wayburn, and close in recognizing Jody, who really did set the standard, set the character of this wonderful place, and pass it on to so many. Thanks so much for the honor, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to share it with all those folks I mentioned.
Well, to quote, I think, Jenna in the chat, talk about inspirational. Tom and Jody, I hope you get a chance to look at the chat and all of the reflections on ACES and the work that you've done and how it's affected and really rippled through our community in exponential ways. It's really quite special. Congratulations. I want to say thank you to everyone for being here. I am wishing you all exploration, that sense of wonder and inspiration. Thank you for everything that you do, and thanks for letting me be a part of it today.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and congratulations, Tom and Jody. Your work is so inspirational and has had a ripple effect on hundreds and thousands of folks across Colorado. We are so grateful to learn from you and to celebrate you today. There's so much to celebrate, even despite the uncertainty and changes of this year. Environmental educators are doing amazing work. We want to give you the chance to continue celebrating these great people and programs. And so we've created a Padlet. You can either point your camera at the QR code on the screen or visit that link there at the bottom bit.ly/EE Inspirations with a capital I and add to that. And we can add to that over the next weeks, the next months. Let's continue celebrating the great things that are happening and the change that is being inspired by environmental educators. And we will continue to share those stories through social media and through our communications. Thank you for all of the work that all of our award recipients do. We are so incredibly inspired. And thank you for all of the work that everyone here does. We're making a difference in the lives of Coloradans. We've got a big vision, and in order to get there, as environmental and outdoor educators, we have the power to inspire change. Change to a world where every person and our planet is treated with respect, and all people are engaged in learning about the environment and our relationship to it. In order to inspire change, we invite all of you to support environmental education. Together as a network, we can energize learning by creating connections between all of the different places and ways of learning that ignite our passions and generate deeper understandings about the environment. We can not only inspire change in individuals and communities, but change in systems. We invite you to make a donation to support this change and support changing our system to a place where all people have the opportunity to experience environmental education. Visit coloradogives.org/CAEE to make a donation or schedule a donation for Colorado Gives Day. And we want to thank you again for all that you do to advance environmental education every day. One more virtual round of applause for all of our award recipients and all of the people who are making an incredible difference in schools, in communities, and with families. We're going to leave the room open for about 30 minutes so folks have a chance to say hello and do a little networking via Zoom. I'm going to jump into a breakout room. I would love for you to stop by and say hello. I'd love to chat with you. If you saw somebody in the participants list that you'd love to chat with, you can go ahead and type in the chat who you'd like to go to a breakout room, and Lisa will help us get into those breakout rooms. So just whoever you'd like in a room, or if you'd like to join me in room 1, I would love to see you. Go ahead and type that in the chat. And if I don't get a chance to talk to you, have an amazing day. And again, thank you for all you do to advance environmental education.